And we are recording. Welcome to the Prolific Podcast, episode number 4, with my boy Domogary from the Dom Trap. The Dom Trap. How's it going, bro?
It's going pleasant.
Yes, dude. Man. Yes.
Pleasure to be here. On top of that.
Yes. And guess what?
What's up?
On this podcast, we do things raw. We get things done. We don't edit. Things happen naturally. Things are gonna mess up. It's gonna fuck up, and it's okay, bro, because we accept those things that are bound to happen. You know?
Raw and uncut. Yeah.
Raw and uncut, dude. Uncut. Talk about me that I am uncircumcised, man. Exactly. Ooh. Exactly, dude. Raw and uncut.
Uncut like a fresh sheet of paper.
Exactly, dude. Exactly.
Yeah, man.
Can you see me?
I can see you, but I'm frozen.
Stop sharing then. Raw and uncut, dude. We do it like this, dude.
Uncutty.
This is exactly what this is. Because guess what?
What it do?
When we do this, we're gonna do this just like this, dude. Where are you? You left my screen.
Uh-oh.
You left my screen.
Ruh-roh, raggy.
There we go. There we go. Oh, look at that. We found you. We found you. You look like one of those from the one of those you remember on Futurama they had that episode where there was like flying faces. I'm sure it was like a takeaway from a different show. I think it might have been Star Trek.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Where it's like the glass in your face and oh no, it's also been on Family Guy. It's a joke that's been rewritten multiple times, and also it's gonna be rewritten on the Prolific Podcast episode number 4 with the Dom Trap, which you can find on YouTube, Spotify, and any of the listening places that you love to go and listen to, man. We're gonna have a wonderful day. Right. It's a happy big Saturday, the day of this recording. I don't give a fuck right now. And today I'm gonna ask Domo, how is your night going, man? How are you doing?
Man, it's going great, man. I'm feeling good, you know. Saturday. It's been pretty chill today, you know. Something light, man. It's been pretty good though. How about yours?
Dude, I feel amazing. That's amazing.
A blessing.
And I'll preface this with this, right?
Yeah. What's up?
I have a little bit of drink on. You know what I mean?
Ooh, what you got over there?
A Budweiser, dude. Because you know we do it big in Texas with a Budweiser.
Yeah, you've been stuck on those, right?
Those are, bruh. Okay. I don't know if people hate on it. This is kind of my like anecdotal thought on it, but with most gatherings or most like places that I've gone to, people are like, oh, whatever, Budweiser, Bud Light, there's trash. Dude, Budweiser has a good flavor.
It's not bad.
It's not at all.
But there's some better ones out there though. I think that's what the problem is.
There is, of course.
I mean, you got Big Dog Michelob Ultra out there.
You like that one?
Love it. Probably one of my favorite beers right now. I've been on that for the past maybe 3 or 4 years or so.
It's good. It's not bad. It's good. I'm not one of those like on my pastime I critique like beers. You know what I mean? You know when you go to a gathering, oh that's piss, or that Modelo smells like skunk. You know what I mean? Like I'm not one of those fellas.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but. You know, it's just like with beer, it's just one of those things because you don't want to mess around and bring the wrong beer. Or else you're going to be the only one drinking it. Which isn't always a bad thing, but, you know, sharing is caring.
Yeah. Dude, what is that? Bringing a bringing a 6-pack, just a 6-pack to a gathering, to a party. That means that is implying that you're coming solo dolo. That pack of beer is yours.
6, yeah, that's you plan on drinking 2 or 3 out of those 6.
Yeah, and it's only yours.
Right. Like you're not gonna want to share.
Nah.
And if someone comes up and asks you, you might say yeah, but yeah, if you bring a 6-pack to a party, man, you're not sharing at all.
At all, dude. And that's that's kind of your like, are you like a lightweight drinker or like, or what, like how do you intake your beer? Like how do you intake, like you go heavy on it or not?
Yeah, I don't just sit and drink 2 beers and say, "Oh, yep, I'm buzzed," and I just chill. Nah, if I'm getting beer, I'm gonna be at
Yeah.
it for the long haul. I'm gonna make sure I have nothing else to do or nowhere to go. Yeah, that's the mood I'll be on.
Yeah, same here, man. Like I'm chilling. Like I'll get enough beer to where I feel like it's gonna be good for the rest of the night.
Right. Because I mean, you don't want to drink and then be like, "Oh, well, I gotta go do something in 2 hours." Like, what's the point? That just kind of
Yeah,
defeats the
exactly.
purpose.
Exactly, man. And it's like, also it's like when you're like getting buzz and like the whole ambiance of the whole whatever is happening, like, and like if you're doing a solo dodo and then all of a sudden the you gotta go get more beer, like that's kind of like
Exactly.
that's kind of like, oh, it's kind of a buzzkill, you know, no pun intended. But
Right.
but it's like, oh my god, man.
It's annoying, is what it is.
For sure, it is
Because
like,
you will just want to get you a certain amount, maybe more than what you plan to drink that night, but still,
yeah,
because drinking and then saying, "Well, I've drunk all I've had. Now let me go get some more." Getting up, getting your keys, going out, possibly driving a little bit under the influence, maybe buzz drinking is the same thing as drunk drinking,
yeah,
all that stuff. The stuff they taught you in school. You don't want to go through that. So
yeah, for sure. And it's just like, oh my god,
if you don't think that 12 is enough, go ahead and get you 24.
damn, that's a lot.
Hey, man. I'm just saying, man. I'd rather my people go out and get what they need instead of, you know, getting the minimum and then going to have to go back out and get the rest of it.
You guys who are watching the video, bear with me, because you know when you come to the Prolific podcast, we're gonna do prolific things, and when being prolific, I'm gonna be scuffed, and I'm also gonna be prolific as scuffed. You know what I mean? I'm adjusting while we do this. And I finally figured it out. There we go, man. There we go. I just had to turn on the camera on OBS. I mean, sorry, on the Discordian, you know?
Yeah.
That way my boy Domo knows what's going on. Domo from the Dom Trap.
Yeah.
The Dom Trap, dude, man. Today, and before we even started this whole thing, we were talking about oh my god, the most craziest thing that happened this past weekend.
What's that?
Astroworld.
Yeah, man. Unfortunate. You don't go somewhere or you see people or hear people going somewhere and you don't hope that things like that happen.
It's crazy. It's certainly a situation that's holding, and I've been hearing really mixed, like depending on where you go and the characteristics of who you intake your information from, whether it be a podcast or whether it be a news channel, like everybody has a mixed opinion. You know, some people say, you know, Travis Scott has some accountability to take there. Some people say that it's not necessarily Travis Scott's accountability. It's not necessary for Travis Scott to take accountability there, but rather that Live Nation, which was, I hear, could have been something, the organizers of this event, to have, you know, not being equipped with the necessary precautions to take care of this astral world. Unfortunately, you know, lives were lost here, and of course I'm very, very sensitive of this subject, and I don't want to, you know, dismiss the fact that of course these are people's lives, and I don't, and I hate, and like in my right conscience, like I would not even talk about the subject. I just don't feel right talking about or making any type of like content out of people suffering. But I think this is something that needs to be talked about. I really think that it needs to shine some light on it, especially, trying to understand people's perspectives, because at the end of the day, somebody needs to be held accountable for this, catastrophe that happened, because it's ridiculous. I mean, what are some of your thoughts?
Like I said before, it's a very unfortunate situation. I mean, lives were lost. It's not like people were just injured. Granted, people were also injured, but people also just straight up lost their lives, which is something that we don't really say, hey, there's a concert. We hope that this happens, or we hope that, we never look at it that way. We want everyone to have a good time and enjoy themselves and enjoy the music. And yeah, I mean, that's the part of going to the concert, is just having a really good time. But the fact that people had a great time, and then also, you know, the worst thing that you could possibly think of happening to someone at this concert happened. It's very unfortunate. It's just people are looking to point fingers all types of different ways, and it's it's just not good. I don't know how else to put it. It's just, I mean, there aren't too many people to point fingers to, but saying that it's all one person's fault or it's this group's fault, I think there was just, of course, some kind of miscommunication that went on, and unfortunately, it just led to tragedy.
Yeah, it did, and that's really unfortunate, man. Like if you see some of the videos, it's, oh my god, it's horrific, man. And
Yeah, and it's like the more that comes out about it, it's like, well, this isn't helping the situation at all. Like, I don't know if you saw, but there was a video of actual security recording the crowd while everything was happening, and it's like, this is just not helping at all.
yeah, I think that overall that they should, as a collective, be held accountable for that. Unfortunately, lawyers are gonna lawyer up, and everybody's gonna go to their dedicated attorney, and you know
Yeah,
you're gonna try to get yourself out of that, because who
right.
knows, what. And they've already been trying to do some, and this sounds ugly to say, but like some damage control, especially with Travis Scott video that came out, and he was talking about how he was apologetic, and I don't know, some people had a little bit of a discourse about that, saying
And
that,
I'm one of them, man. It's just the fact that the man recorded himself saying these things and looking stressed, and then had the nerve to go back and watch it again, and then had the, the more nerve to put a filter on that and then release that out to the public. It just seems like it's in terrible taste. It's like he's not taking it as seriously as he should. I mean, even with the Notes app apology that he came out with, it just seemed like someone said, "Hey, write something and just put it out." When in reality, he should have been going to his PR team and saying, "Hey, what exactly should I say? What exactly should I do?" Because it seemed kind of impulsive, and then in return, it just seemed like it wasn't in a good place.
yeah, most definitely. I think a lot of people could see through that, through whatever that was, right? You could see that it was some sort of like, oh, I need to get some sort of apology out in order to like kind of stop some of the damage that's about to happen, and
Right.
it really came off that way, like you said, like the filter and things like that. But some people say, he did seem apologetic, and he did seem sorry about what he did. And what do you think about some of those people? What do you think about the opposite position on that?
Well, I would hope that he felt apologetic. It's just he should have come across it well. He should have, put it out in a different way. I think that's just the big thing of it, because we can only see but so much. You know what I mean? We don't know how he's taking things behind the camera. So when you do turn on your camera and we see what you're doing, it just doesn't seem normal.
Right. I think my
And,
personal.
and I'm not sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm not saying that he should just get to the camera and just start crying and snotting all over the place. I'm not saying that. It's just the way that he was speaking about it.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, let me just say these words so these people can stop being mad at me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I don't get canceled. It just seemed like it was something like that.
Yeah, man. It's definitely like it's tough, and I try to see it from like all points of views here, and obviously nothing he could say was is gonna be possibly enough to cushion the blow on it, you know,
Yeah,
because it's just something inedible that's gonna happen, you know, and at the end of the day, hopefully those families get the right help that they deserve and they need, you know, and it's just an
yeah.
unfortunate situation, and I don't know what's gonna become of Astroworld or what's gonna come of the whole concert itself later down the road. Maybe you have, what are some of your thoughts on what may happen on that?
Hopefully, things would be okay. I seen that he got dropped from Day in Vegas,
Oh yeah,
that festival, and I'm like,
quick.
it's yeah, they dropped him with the quickness, but it's one of those things that was just out of his control that just happened. I mean, there was nothing that he actually, well, there was something that he could have done about it, but since he didn't, that just happened to be the cost, him losing his spot at that festival. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, it's kind of crazy how last year the big thing about Travis Scott was the Travis Scott meal at McDonald's. And then
Oh
fast
yeah,
forward to this year, it's this whole situation here where unfortunately people and basically children lost their lives.
yeah, and I wanted to see like I wanted to see on other people's like perspective on this. How do you feel like now listening to like a Travis Scott track, like especially the 2-pack that he just released? I don't know if it was pre Astroworld or was post Astroworld, but he had released a 2-track, like some sort of 2-track thing, and I just felt like this eerie feeling in my gut that was like, I kind of just don't want to listen to him right now. I feel like disconnected to his music. You know,
I
I feel
agree.
there's so much going on right now that like I want to say this. I'm not saying that hey, I'm going to walk away from Travis Scott and that's it. I'm going to abandon this guy. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that I feel disconnected from what he's talking about in the track. I feel like there's a bigger thing that's circulating his whatever you an atmosphere or whatever atmosphere or whatever you want to put there. It's circulating him, so it's kind of difficult to really like intake what he's saying. Maybe that's me and having trouble to differentiating from the person and the art. What how do you feel about that?
I was the same way. Like, I didn't listen to him before Astroworld happened. They did come out pre Astroworld,
Yeah.
and I didn't get a chance to listen to him like that Friday. But after the incident happened, I said, okay, I didn't hear these songs. I was just listening to music one night, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna sit down and check these out. And I played the first song, and I didn't feel a thing. Then I played the second song, and still didn't feel a thing. And I think that the whole situation was just like, it's just like it's just playing in your ear, and you're like, okay, you know, this didn't have to happen. And I keep thinking back to one tweet that I saw, and it was something to the effect of, no music is worth dying for. And I agree with that statement. So when I'm hearing this music, it's just like, I don't want to hear him say any of this. I want him to, address what's happened and, have some kind of formality when he's speaking to the families of those deceased. And I don't know. I just haven't been back to those songs since. I even feel
Yeah.
different when he pops up in the shuffle sometimes. I'm just like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's
Yeah.
like it's this weird like I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe it's a conscious thing, a subconscious thing where it's like, oh, like people passed away and it's kind of like, do I focus on that or do I move on this may be a grander conversation of having the resolution or the moving on phase of someone passing away. Like it's too tough. Like I know that the media and just things like that move on so quickly, right? Like I know that happens in the media, but this one really hit different. I don't know why.
because there were lives lost. I think that just kind of amplified everything. I mean, you
Yeah.
look at the whole DaBaby situation. Like when he said what he said on stage at Rolling Loud, people were visibly upset, and they showed that they were upset to the point where the festivals were like, "Okay, we're dropping him off. We're not gonna. We don't want to have anything to do with this guy until this whole thing blows over."
Yeah.
And his monthly listens on Spotify, they just kind of plummeted because of that. And it's just like when a lot of people have a favorite artist or an actor or something that does something terrible, and then people will see this person or hear this person and say, "Well, I don't want anything to do with this person. I don't want to have any relation to this person."
That's so funny that you say that, because do you think that, like, especially with cancel culture at I personally think, and I'm gonna put this out there, and I might get my ass chewed out. I think cancel culture is not at its peak anymore. Meaning that
No.
if somebody's bound to get canceled about something about months ago, you would never see that person again. Now, right now, in this time again, you have seen people resurface, whether it be the comedians like Chris D'Elia, whether it be rappers like DaBaby, or whether it be Tory Lanez, like things that were cancelable months ago. Right now, in this moment, I don't think so. I think people are pushing back on the cancel culture right now. I think they're not afraid of it.
My thing about cancel culture is like,
Let me add Dave Chappelle as well.
yeah, that too. I was about to bring that up, but
Yeah.
people should be able to just cancel whatever they want to cancel. There's no reason for us to have a mob of people saying, "Hey, we're going to cancel this person because they stepped on this kid's shoe and didn't apologize." Like,
Yeah.
let's just, you know what I mean? It's like, let's not start a mob. Let's just
Yeah.
have our own individual feelings about something. If I dislike it, I'll say why I dislike it. Let's just move on. If there's somebody I don't want to deal with, I just won't deal with them, and let's just move on. Like the fact that there's a mob of people saying, "Hey, this person did something bad to this person. Let's ruin their livelihood and mess up their forms of income and things of the such." Is, I don't know, man. But the fact that we do have these celebrities saying, "Hey, you know what? Screw that." Like, you can hate me for what I did or for what I didn't do. You don't really know because you weren't there. And I'm just going to continue to be me. I'm just going to go back out there and do things like everything is normal.
Look, oh man, this is gonna be a fucking podcast of hot takes. Fuck, man. Here on the Prolific Podcast, we do crazy things. Of course, you are entitled to your own opinion and your own prolific way of thinking about life. But for me, I kind of have respect for that.
I mean, it's kind of hard not to.
Look,
the same way.
Look.
If you're one of the people that say, "Hey, I did some bad things, but I got a new album dropping. If y'all don't listen to it."
And I know people, Republican Lex. No, man, I'm not, right? I'm just saying that when Dave Chappelle says, "Hey, I'm whatever," in the context of a joke, and says, "Hey, I'm not going to back down to whatever cancel culture is trying to do to me right now," I don't think that it's fair what they're trying to do to me, especially under the context of a joke. Now, this is a Dave Chappelle. This is the Dave Chappelle. Like, we're gonna speak about different situations, and I want to get into that. I'm talking about specifically Dave Chappelle, right? As far as cancel culture tried to dictate what was gonna happen to him, he said, "You know what? I'm gonna double down. This was a joke. Check out the context of the joke. I don't hate transsexuals. I don't hate people of other genders. I don't hate any of that. And mind you, me personally, I don't like, I don't hate that either. I care about people. Whatever you want to do with your life, however you view yourself, I respect that. Let me just preface this with that. But I respect the fact that when people came to the Dave Chappelle situation, he stood up and doubled down on his perspective on it. And I think that that was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, him saying, yeah, I said everything in that special and I actually mean it. You can be mad at me. That's fine. But I'm just going to let you know that I'm still going to do me. Still going to be me. I'm still the same person I was before I said those things.
Facts.
I may not be that way to you, but it is to me. And to me, that's what matters. That's what matters most. Because he's the only one that's having to wake up in his skin. You know what I mean?
And the media twisted his story so crazy because the joke, the premise of the joke, or Dave Chappelle has this like storytelling type of comedy where it's like he takes you on a ride, right? These are not jokes that are punch after punch after punch. This is like a lengthy joke, right? This is from like beginning, and I'm gonna take you on this ride on this joke. We're gonna have laughs here. We're gonna have like an amusement park of jokes, right? It's so crazy how he said, hey, like I don't know did you watch the Dave Chappelle special?
Of course.
Good. He said that, hey, I had a transgender friend who stood up for me, to the transgender community, and that same transgender community bullied her. Could have, now I don't know, right? Who's to say why somebody off themselves or why somebody did what they did to themselves? We can't tell that. Only the person who did that to themselves can really say that. But could have been a reasoning behind that, right, to do that. And she stood up for me, and you guys bullied her. Now, what is this thing about certain certain groups of people? Would you consider a cancel culture a group of people?
Yeah, it's like I said it earlier. It's a mob.
A mob of people.
There are people saying, "Hey, I dislike that this person did this thing." Okay, cool. Me too. Let's basically form a group and try to get this person out of here.
Yeah. A group of people to swallow itself. I think Dave Chappelle's special was. I think Dave Chappelle's special was in alignment to what is going on, because he showed and gave you an example of how something can become so big and swallow itself. And I think that was very interesting. Now, of course, am I sensitive to those things? Of course, I'm very sensitive to those things. I'm very pro the LGBTQ community. I don't necessarily like if some like I don't have like these things, but let's call a ball game fair. Like let's look at this fairly. We're watching a comedy special. We're watching somebody tell jokes on stage in front of people that he has practiced for multiple reasons. It's not like Dave Chappelle just goes up there and fucking freestyles it like he's Jay-Z, like fucking the blueprint, whatever. You know what I mean?
Right. And I think that's what a lot of people forgot about Dave Chappelle. Like,
yeah,
his comedy is based on real life and his actual experiences. If you watch the Chappelle show, a lot of this stuff is based on things that he's experienced. For example, the whole the Rick James episode, that was based off an experience that Charlie Murphy actually went through. The Prince episode, the same thing. Clayton Bigsby, the same thing. Like, I mean, it just got blown way out of proportion, I think.
Yeah.
He's not just going to go on stage and say, "Oh, what about airplane food? Peanuts." Like, he's not going to say jokes like that. He's going to say, "I remember when I was a kid and we had a crackhead in our neighborhood that would walk around with a shoe that flapped open every time he would say something that's real." And I guess people aren't real. I don't think people are here to hear the real anymore. I think that's what it boils down to. People hear what they want to hear.
Oh, hell no.
If it's anything other than that, they'll hate it or they'll try to cancel it.
Yeah, exactly. And this is going to lead into something. And just so when I put this out, people had understand the perspective of that. I understand that the cancel culture has subsections, right? Like, let's. I'll get into that right now. This is a very big like conversation to happen. We're gonna have that right now, and this is gonna take a moment. So you guys on the Prolific Podcast episode number 4, please hit the like button, share this button, subscribe to this button. Make sure you're in tune. And guess what, man? If you love podcasts and you saying, you know what, let me check out a brand new one that's up and coming, that's gonna blow up the streets. You know what? I want to hear about movies, cinema. I want to know someone's opinion about the movie that I just watched. I don't really, necessarily want to hear my friends banter about some bullshit that they don't really understand, like Dune, like fucking any movie that came out, like No Time to Die. You can definitely check out the Dom Trap on the YouTube channel and Spotify and Apple Music. Apple Podcast, and any of these platforms that you want to watch, because we have not only the most beautiful, the most sexiest podcast in the world, the Dom Trap, the Domogary.
Yeah.
And so go ahead and check that out. But I was saying that it's a difficult conversation because it has layers to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a black and white thing. And I think
it's all gray and many different shades of gray.
Yeah, and I think that it's tough, man, because obviously if you sexually abuse somebody and it comes out that you sexually abuse somebody, then at that point I can't really defend that, right? If there's proof in the pudding and there's evidence to that, then what can I do,
Right.
And obviously the cancel culture has its benefits in that sense, where it's like, putting the voice out to the voiceless, right? And making people stand up, having the courage to stand up to people. And I understand that, right? And I hate this, and I don't want this to come off like, oh my god, like I'm so against the whole thing and the whole what people are trying to do, because I'm not. I'm very, very, very aware of like social situations like that. But I think it's very interesting that how something can become so big and swallow itself to where it just doesn't even know what it's swallowing.
Yeah, it's totally unrecognizable at that point. And like we said, it's a mob. It's just a bunch of people. Everyone's not going to like the same things. They're not. And it may suck to hear that, but somebody might get hurt because of something that someone likes. So say, hey, the color blue, let's cancel it because it's doing something for this reason. And people are like, well, I love blue. Wait a second. You know what I mean? So and like you said, it's not always black and white, because some people may be like, oh, well, I like blue because of this, but I can't let it go. It's just, it's like you said, cancel culture has just become unrecognizable at this point. You can't really single it down to a certain type of people, because there are so many people that may dislike something or may want to do something about something that happened or something someone said. They express themselves, and more people continue to do that, and things just get muddled in the process.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. It really does.
And it's not fun. It's never fun.
And that's so interesting that you said it really does get so like, you remember that game, that telephone game during like elementary or during the whatever, like our youth years, where you would tell somebody something and by the end that it comes back to you, it's a whole completely different story. But guess what?
Right.
Guess what the media is now, right? And not all.
Same thing.
No, check this out. Not all media, right? You still have valuable sources, but it's even faster now. So
Yeah.
where it would go a circle of 10 kids or a circle of 10 people and we're telling us something? No. It happens this fast. Literally
Right.
one person. One person. One person can switch up the whole narrative of something.
I mean, think about all those times where social media was a little bit slower, and someone would say, "Oh, this celebrity passed away," and then you see 5 articles saying the same thing, and then you see 10, and then 20, and then you have people asking questions, and then it's just so much stuff going on. Meanwhile, the celebrity is like, "Well, I'm fine." Like y'all are freaking out about nothing. It's just that's basically the same thing.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's so
I mean,
crazy.
think about back in, I think it was what, 2011, when Lil Wayne was having his seizures, and
Oh
like
yeah.
TMZ kept reporting like every 2 or 3 minutes that he had passed away. And then they said, "Oh no, my bad. He's fine. He's just in the hospital." Then they say that he's dead again, and they say, "Oh no, somebody just came to see him and said he's okay."
What a good conversation we're having here, man.
Yeah, it's a tough one to have, but it has to be said.
I like if we want to be analytical about what if you want to ask me what I'm trying, I want to see. I've seen Damo talk about. This is tough because this is gonna be. I told you this is the prolific podcast.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Lexus podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I dictate what happens here.
Yeah, this is your domain.
And this is episode number 4. Cuatro. And we heard Damo talk about movies. We heard Damo talk about music. And if you haven't heard, and if you haven't seen those videos, and if you haven't seen those discussions, go check out the Dom Trap again, man.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? This is barely episode number 4. The Dom Trap's on episode number 16, right? 16.
Yeah, 16. New episode coming soon, by the way.
New EP coming
very soon.
The thing is, I want to go in depth into what Damo thinks.
Mm-hmm.
What Damo thinks. I want to know what are some of your philosophies. What are some of the how do we get to a political view, right? I want to see that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's interesting because it's hard, man. Especially nowadays.
People are so easily persuaded.
Oh, most definitely.
It's way easier to tell someone something, why they should do this, why they should do that, and that person will say, maybe I should listen to this person. They seem, like they know what they're talking about. This seems like a probable cause. Yeah, maybe I should do that. It's just way too easy now. Way too easy. And like I said, just a lot of people, they don't have their individual minds anymore. Mm-hmm. Their minds are just made up of things that everyone else is telling them.
And I want to know a little bit more about Damo. Like, what was your early childhood?
Man, so I was an only child until I was 9. So in my household anyway, I had 2 older half sisters, but those years, me being the only kid in the house for a while was like, everything was about me. You know what I mean? Like everything was like, oh, you do this because you're the only one. I was my grandmother's only grandson. You know what I mean? So I had her love too. But then when I turned 9 and my little sister was born, I was like, wait a second. But what about me? Like I get it, my mom's pregnant, but I'm still here. And and when my mom, when she had my sister, it's like everything just kind of shifted. Everything shifted. I feel like that's when I actually woke up as a child. Like seeing how things could just change from, everything being about me and me getting what I want to things being not so easy because there was someone else that they had, my parents had to take care of. So then by the time my little brother was born, I was 15 at the time. So I kind of knew what to expect. You know what I mean? Things were just never going to be the same like they were before I had a little sibling to help raise and look after and stuff like that. But growing up, I wasn't really a sheep. You know what I mean? I wasn't really the one to follow things.
Oh
I've
my
never really
god.
been someone to follow trends all the time. Like when the PS2 and the GameCube and Xbox came out, everyone was getting a PS2. I was like, nah, I want a GameCube. I want Super Mario Sunshine. I don't really care about all that other stuff.
Great game, by the way.
Yeah, I was really late to that PS2 train. Like I saw later what they were talking about, but I was like, never want to say, "Oh, you wearing the new Jordans? I'm gonna go give me some too." It was never anything like that.
Yeah. I was very like I was the opposite. Like I started off from one of the earliest memories I have is like introducing a new brother to or a new brother and a new sister to like the family household.
Hmm.
Like I wasn't like I don't think I was 9 or any. I was younger than that. Like introducing that and it's so interesting that you're already older and now you're introducing a new family member. Like how was that like? Now that you're obviously at 9, you're not fully conscious, but you're aware of what's happening. How did that
Yeah,
feel?
it was a little bit different because I've seen so many siblings that I went to school with and things like that. They were way closer in age than me and my sister are. Seeing kids 2 and 3 years apart from each other, and then we ended up going to the same middle schools and high schools. Like I thought that was so cool, but I never really got to experience that with me being way older than she was. Like I said again, I had my older half sister, but wasn't you know the same as having someone live in the same household and y'all get up and go to school together. I think that would be cool, but never really got to experience that. So with me being older, like I said, it was just like everything's changed. Everything's changed, and she went to the same schools I went to, but so I had to see her kind of grow up and kind of have a similar experience to what I had, but it just wasn't the same.
How did you feel sharing that attention? And this is like interesting, and I'll let you know like how I felt um sharing that attention. Like how did you feel? How did you like receive that or try to deal with that?
I hate to be dramatic, but it felt like you're being abandoned. Like people are walking up to my mom saying, "Oh, look, let me see the baby. Let me see. Look at Aubrey." And I'm like, you know what? I'm literally standing right here. Like 2 years ago, this wouldn't have happened. But now that this is a thing, I just had to accept it. So it took me a little while to get used to everything, to not being that guy. You know what I mean? So I just had to. I ended up just having to deal with it. I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? This is just the way things are. Things just can't go back the way they were. So I was like, yeah, let me just learn from this experience.
Let me share a little bit of like how I took it. Like it was so weird to me. Like I just cuz I'm a firstborn, like I'm the first, the oldest, right? And like it's so interesting to see somebody else's perspective on that because I just felt like, to be honest, I didn't even know what was going on. I was like, "Oh, I have a brother, I have a sister." I kind of just
Right.
accepted. I accepted the faith, right?
Hmm.
It was never like, "Oh, now like I got to share attention." Like I kind of just accepted that, and it's interesting to see like you were more like older in age and more like aware of what was going on. So it's
Yeah.
interesting to see those things kind of how those worked out in itself, and I like that. And I guess I want to know like how did you come into the cinema scene? Like how did you, what was your first movie that you can remember that really made an impact in your life? And I'll tell you mine.
All right. So I don't know the first movie, but one of the most memorable experiences I have in a movie theater. Don't laugh at me.
No, no, no judgment here.
Um, I went to go see Men in Black, the first Men in Black, with my mom, and that was back in '97, I believe.
Willie Smith.
Yeah. So just think, I had to be 4 at this time, and the fact that I can remember this happening to this day is crazy. So we went to go and see the movie, and at the beginning, you know, where they're smuggling those people in the back of that
Yeah,
van,
yeah.
and then that one guy turns out to be like an alien, and then he like screams at the camera, and he has like tentacles leaving his head and stuff everywhere. I remember crying seeing that, like being just terrified to the point where we had to leave the movie theater early. Like that's a memory that I can live. That it just stays in my head rent free, and it's just crazy that that's what it is. But yeah, the beginning of Men in Black was one of my earliest theater experiences, and also one of my most memorable.
That's so cool, man. To have,
And I think that might be why I'm such a big horror geek as well. Like,
yeah.
because I'm not scared of anything, bro.
Oh, I'm the opposite,
Scared of
man.
anything. So I love when a movie tries to be scary,
Yeah.
and sometimes I'm just a brick wall. Like nothing phases me. So it's like when I do get a little creeped out or I get a little bit scared, I'm like, they did a good job.
Yeah.
But I've never been one to scream or cower at a movie.
I think one of the most memorable feelings that I have recognizing with a movie. I forgot the movie what it's called, excuse me. Something about two lions or lions. It's about
I
these
think.
man, I'm gonna look it up real quick. It's lions something, right? Lion it was about this young child whose mom left them with his grandparents or two brothers who are grandpa and then the brother. I don't exactly remember what it was called. I think it had something to do with that. But I remember feeling so much like, oh, I can relate to this movie. Like it feels so good. Like, here we go. Oh, Secondhand Lions.
That's with Haley Joel Osment, isn't it?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, bro. I remember that movie.
I love that movie, man. That was one of those movies where I felt like, oh my God, like I'm a young kid, I'm a young guy, like the fact that I'm identifying with these emotions, like I've never felt that with any series or any like movie until then. And of course, shout out TBS. TBS needs to be applauded. The Turner Broadcast
yeah, man.
system. I don't know what they call it. Is Turner Brock whatever, dude. The same people from TNT. Like like it's so like it was so, TBS brought me so much good movies, especially having basic cable.
Right. And I mean, you think about it like when, you know, being young, all you really want to do is watch cartoons.
Yeah.
So when you watch something that's like live action or just kind of real looking and it hits you a certain way, it just leaves an impression. Like that's what Forrest Gump was for me.
Yeah, same here.
Like I grew up on Cartoon Network.
Jenny.
That was my jam.
Jenny.
Man, bump Jenny, bro. That's a topic for another day. But Forrest Gump was just one of those movies where I remember being younger and watching it and being like, "Holy cow!" Like I feel things.
Yeah.
Like, and it's something about movies with being a kid, watching a movie with kids in it. I think that also brings more of an attachment to that film.
Yeah, dude. My mother was such a she loved the Sci-Fi Channel. Loved the Sci-Fi Channel. And that's when I know like I got introduced to these like, you know, scary movies or these like very you know, out of this world movies, like especially movies like Species. You know, Species is one of those movies that you probably shouldn't be watching as a kid, but I was watching that as a kid, and you know what? It kind of fucked me up.
Yeah, that's what movies do to you.
And early on, like the movies like Chucky and like all these movies, like I remember watching Chucky and being terrified as a kid. You know, I was like, fuck, you know what I mean? Like this is I know that this is unreal and obviously this like weird like thing is like
But it's like, Andy Barclay was a kid, and you
yeah.
being a kid, you're like, wait a minute, that could happen to me. What would I do in that situation?
And you know what, Damo? Here's the fucked up part. Whenever Spencer's gift shop started selling the goddamn life-size versions of Chucky and the Bride, guess what? The cousins came over
What's that?
and brought both of those things, man, and it was freaky. I was tripping off of that as a young kid.
Yeah, man, that stuff can stick with you, bro.
For
Like,
sure.
my grandma used to put on Chucky just to scare me. Like, I think she got a kick out of it. And I remember vividly having a dream where I was at her house and I woke up from a nap, and then I looked outside after I opened the door, and there were just a bunch of Chucky dolls like filling the street.
Oh my god, it was that vivid?
Like, yeah, it's crazy.
Damn, Dom. It's so
Yeah.
interesting, man. I love figuring that stuff out. And it's like, when did you start like your podcast? What made you start your podcast? I've heard the reasons, but I want to know. I want the prolific viewers to understand why you started. I've heard your podcast. I heard you talk about it, but let the prolificers understand. Ooh, you named the prolificers. That's kind of This sounds kind of racist though. Sounds kind of racist.
Just a little bit.
We'll think about that. But what inspired you to start your podcast, man? What was it?
Honestly, it was me being the film person that I am, me being the person that goes to the movies as much as I do, and not really having an outlet, not really having someone to talk about these movies with. I have a friend I would talk to, and I would call him about just about everything that I saw after he called me, and I'd say, hey, this movie was this, I didn't like this about the movie, and he would honestly reply with, bro, I don't care. I don't care about these movies. Like, yeah, he's that kind of friend. But
straightforward.
Basically, he's still a sucker though. I hope he's listening. But, yeah, so just that, and then saying, okay, maybe I should start a podcast after me hearing many episodes of the Joe Budden podcast and Joe Rogan podcast and listen to plenty of true crime podcasts. I'm like, maybe I should try it. And I remember coming to him with the idea, and I'm like, yo, I love movies. I always talk about movies. And he's like, yeah, you talk about them all the time, with his little snarky attitude. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. So one day I just got on the phone with Amazon, bought a microphone, and I was all right. I think I got everything I need. So when I did my first episode, I sat down and I just talked for maybe 40 minutes.
Wait. First episode on the Dom Trap. Go on youtube.com. The Dom Trap. Of course, you can find him on Spotify and on Apple Podcast.
Yep, and Google Podcasts. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find it.
Wherever you listen to motherfucking podcast, man, you can find the Dom Trap there. Go ahead.
And that's TheDomTrap.
Yep.
So yeah, it was basically that, and then I just listened to myself talking for the first time, and I was like, dude, I hate this, because I don't know about you, but like, I'm my biggest critic. If I don't like something, I'm quick to know that I don't like it or I don't want anything else to do with it. But listening to it, I was like, okay, this kind of sucks. I need someone else's ears to hear this and tell me what they think. And I sent it to my friend, and I sent it to my mom and a few of my other relatives, and it was like, hey, just check this out. Let me know what you think. And everyone said, hey, yeah, this sounds good. You should go ahead and keep doing more. And I was like, okay. So, of course, me being the movie guy, I was like, I'm just going to make this thing about movies. But since then, like, I really want to open it up to where it can be where I just sit down and just let things out.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that you have, and I've told you this before in private conversations, and I won't air it out, but some of the things to really like summarize is just like I really think that you're, talented in what you do, and you, especially the way you articulate like your points and stuff like that. You're very good, and I'm surprised. Did you take any debate classes when you were in school, or
Nah,
speeching classes and anything like?
I took speech a few times, but other than that, nothing major. I hated presenting in school.
Really?
I hated it.
That's so interesting that like
I
someone
got
who
nervous every single time.
that's so interesting that someone who hated it to be so like so good at it. It's so interesting.
I had someone tell me that a few weeks ago. We were talking about my podcast, and she was like, "Oh, I wouldn't expect you to be nervous or scared to, talk in a microphone or talk to anybody that I know of." And I'm like, "Yeah, like." My first few times, I was like, "What do I do? Like, am I going to mess this up?" I just had so many things going through my head because that's the thing about me. I live in my head. So, and like I said, when I would listen to it, sometimes I just say, "Okay, yeah, this kind of sucks. I don't know if I should do this," but I've been trying to stick with it. I think consistency is my biggest um, hill that I need to climb. But other than that, yeah,
Yeah, most definitely. And we froze for a bit, but it's all good.
we're back.
We're about to be back.
Hopefully so.
Hopefully again. Like I said, like I said earlier, dude. This is the Prolific Podcast. This is Lex's podcast.
Man.
This is my podcast, dude. I don't give a fuck. Yeah. I don't give a fuck what people. What is that you're showing on the screen?
So that's the alien from Men in Black.
Oh,
out of the theater, bro.
Oh, I was about to say. I was like, what are you showing on the screen?
Because I was just looking back at it, but yeah, he had it was an alien pretending to be a man that was being smuggled, and they cut open the alien's poncho, and the alien was underneath the poncho, but had like a fake human head on a stick.
Yeah,
and the head was still moving around, the eyes were still moving, so that was creepy on one end. But then the fact that the alien heard something behind him and then turned around and screamed, and there's slobber and stuff and tentacles everywhere, I think that's where I just lost it. So I just had to go back and see what that was.
Damn, dude, I feel kind of nervous putting this podcast out.
For what, man?
We talked about some very crazy shit.
Hey, man, stuff needs to be said.
We talked about cancel culture.
Yeah, stood up to it.
We talking about cancel culture is getting yourself canceled like that.
Basically, because cancel culture doesn't want to be talked about. They don't want to be discussed.
Fuck it, though. We'll be okay.
Because of what they think that they have the power to do.
I think I was reasonable.
Yeah.
I think I was reasonable. But it was good, man. It was good. And, of course, this was episode number 4 of the Prolific Podcast with Lex.
We aren't done, are we?
We can keep going.
I just got to talk about one more thing, bro.
We can keep going. I'm just saying, hey, we're about to hit a 1 hour.
Before we go.
You're good.
Rockstar, I want you to do one thing for me, and that's just to please stop disappointing me.
Damn, dude.
I'm just asking you to do one thing, Rockstar. It's a company. I hope that someone at Rockstar is listening. Just please stop disappointing me. The fact that you take your time announcing that these games are going to be released, and the games I'm discussing, about what I'm talking about, are the GTA Trilogy, which is Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, the definitive editions, or should I say, quote unquote, the definitive editions.
That's what I titled the video.
One of the laziest remakes / remasters I've probably ever seen, and the fact that I was excited about it when I saw the trailer, and the way I feel about it now is almost night and day.
Yeah.
By the way, if you want to see my reaction, it's on Lex's channel, the YouTube channel. So check that out.
Lex, that is L3X_44.
Yeah.
Lex Gaming channel.
So on that video, we talked about how things were looking great. The graphics were great. The comparisons from the old game, everything just looked like a step up. Like that's what it was going to be. But like I said before, it took Rockstar months to finally say, "Hey, this is going to be a thing that you can play on your consoles and PCs. We can't wait for you to have it." They didn't really even say anything until they dropped the trailer and then said, "Hey, by the way, this is dropping in 3 weeks." And then slowly we figured out that controls were going to be different. Thank goodness. And not really much else about it. We didn't really get much about the soundtracks or anything. So some of the songs from the games were cut. In particular, the Michael Jackson songs from Vice City were cut, and
Oh,
that one hurts
yeah.
because if you remember that first mission where you get dropped off at Rosenberg's office, you get out and you get on the moped and it's playing Flash 106 FM, and the first song that's playing is Billie Jean by Michael Jackson.
She's not my girl.
Yes,
Ooh.
yes. So the fact that if I do decide to buckle down and pay $60 to get the game, I can't make that memory happen. I can't relive that moment because that song is no longer in the game.
Do you think that that was like a copyright issue, or do you think that there was an issue with whatever Michael MJ's history?
I think it was definitely a licensing issue,
Yeah.
but I feel like they should have been a little bit more transparent about it. It shouldn't have been a surprise. That's my big thing about it.
Have you played this game?
I have not. I do have San Andreas downloaded, but I have not played it yet.
Okay, I haven't played this game at all.
But from what I've seen, I don't even have much of a reason to play it, to be honest.
I did hear that there was leaks. There was like some sort of a hacker leaked all like the information being, some of the information inside the game. That for whatever why is like discussions between the Rockstar employees in the game. Why I don't understand how that like. Of course, I'm ignorant to like however games are made or the data, but like why is there like messages between Rockstar employees in the game, or maybe I didn't read the article right or something like that. Like it was called the Holy Grail of or something like that, right? The Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Let me look it up. Let me make sure that what I'm talking about is correct while Dalmo talks more about how the game is coming out.
Yeah. So performance wise, it's okay. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing on mainline consoles, but on the Nintendo Switch, I have seen reports of frame droppings and the game running at 18 frames per second, which is almost unplayable if you ask me. Someone that can really only play at 30 and 60 frames, uh, dipping anything below that, I notice it and it's an instant turnoff. And the fact that there were there were reports that the games were being built from the ground up, but someone actually got the PC version, went into the code, and found parts of the code that were the exact same from the PS2 version.
So check this out. Right here, I got the article from GameSpot. It's called GTA Trilogy removed from PC store amid claims that Holy Grail files were leaked. And under it says, Rockstar GTA The Trilogy Definitive Edition has been pulled from the Rockstar Games launcher, which is the only place to buy the game for PC. The Rockstar launcher has gone down completely, as well as Rockstar thanked fans for their patience and said it's working to restore services and get the game back online. Because GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas were delisted on digital stores ahead of the Definitive Edition release, there's currently no way to buy the game in any fashion on the PC right now because of the hacks for the Holy Grail file leak, right? So Rockstar support tweets out, "We thank you for the patience and understanding as we continue to work on restoring services on the Rockstar game launcher and supporting titles." This was on November 12th. Continue on. As spotted by the VGC, GTA fan Vadman M claims to have found the main.scm film within the definitive edition code on PC, which is described as the holy grail for each title. The files are said to include cut content and messages. This is the crazy part right here. Why is there messages within? I don't understand. Right? This is me talking ignorance about game development and how things are working behind the scenes. But it's kind of weird to have saved messages within the game itself. You know?
Sloppy.
That's kind of like
crazy
what?
Sloppy.
How does that even work? Like, whatever. Somebody could explain
just
that.
A lack of them not testing things, them not going through everything. Like the fact that you can boot up the Switch version and have frame drops immediately just goes to show that Grove Street Games, which is who I think is the one, they're the ones that were overseeing the entire project. The fact that they didn't play test this game before it went to the public hands is kind of insane. So these messages that got leaked, that's not surprising at all. It just shows that they did not care. There's no way to show that they cared about it.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It's
and
so
the closest thing that we can really compare this to is Cyberpunk 2077 from last year.
Really?
And that's terrible to say. But yeah, I mean, just the things that were kind of promised and shown off just aren't what we got them to be.
Man, it's crazy. And
rendering issues, graphical issues, and subtitle error, and text from the actual world being messed up. One of the characters in the game has a jersey on that it used to have a 7 on it, but for some reason they changed it to a 9, but you can still see the outline of the jersey that's a 7 behind the 9, and it's just lazy work. It's almost like they just threw it up and just said, hey, here you go, give us $60 now.
It's so weird, and this game is, like you said, full price. This is a $60 $7 game, $60 or $7.
I think 60. It's still listed as PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. But yeah, a $60 game where you get 3 games, but there are 3 games that we've had for over 15 years.
Man, and the article continues and says, where was I? Some believe that this is part of the reason why the games were removed from the store, and they were talking about how the files and the messages were released as to why the next sentence happened. The definitive edition comes with updated versions of GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, featuring better visuals, refrigerators borrowed from GTA 5 and GTA 5 style controls? Whatever that means.
The controls are just like, holding LT and shooting with RT. Or L2 and R2. The driving is used with the triggers instead of A and B to back up, things like that.
Okay. According to a report, if the GTA re-release performed well, Rockstar might remaster Red Dead Redemption next. Take-Two's Carl Slatoff recently outlined Take-Two's position on remaster, saying it's all about the money. Wow, what?
They should leave Red Dead Redemption alone.
Did you just hear that last?
Yes, money is money.
Take-Two's Carl Slatoff, hopefully I'm not butchering the last name, recently outlined Take-Two's position on remasters, saying it's all about the money.
Yeah, that's a fact, dude. Look at Red Dead Online right now.
So there's people saying, hey, this is kind of about the money, and we are gonna give you a product. And it's kind of just like the name, but hey, take this because, hey, GTA, GTA 3, you need GTA Vice City, GTA San Andreas,
4, 5, of course, online.
Yeah, these games, right? These games. Hey, guess what? We're about to make a bunch of money, and here's Red Dead Redemption, We don't really give a fuck about the thing because you're going to buy it anyways.
Anyway.
And this is fucked up because in the article at GameSpot.com/article/GTA Trilogy removed from PC Store, in this last sentence, saying it's all about the money. How crazy is that? That we're in an age where the game develop or whoever this guy is, I don't know who Carl Slatoff is. I don't know exactly what he does in the company or whatever. But for somebody to just be saying, "Hey, it's all about the money, man."
You know, it's shocking in a sense, but then again, it's not surprising at all. Hello? Because we know how these people and these corporations think.
Hold on.
If it's anything,
I got a little job for you, pal.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that they know that if it's anything that can make them a buck, if they prefer to be a quick buck, they'll do it, and that's the result of this game. So why not do it again with Red Dead? And in the future they might even do it with Bully or the Warriors, or maybe by some chance Midnight Club.
Do you know what game they really need to remake?
What's that?
They need to remake Need for Speed Underground. 1 or 2?
Don't. No, they don't.
What, dude?
I love the Underground series, man.
I don't give a fuck about cars, but that game made me care about cars.
And that's my thing. I've been playing Forza Horizon 5.
The new one that came out?
Yes.
Is that sick or what?
It is crazy good.
Talk about that.
I've never really been a car guy. I do like racing games. I like being competitive. But with this game, man, with Need for Speed, sometimes there would be cars that weren't really real. Until the later series, we got actual vehicles. But in Forza, man, there are almost 600 vehicles, I think. And it's just like, here's the thing. It's a racing game, but it's almost like an MMORPG. It's almost like Pokemon in a sense. Like, gotta catch them all. You'll see a car, you'll drive it, and it's like, okay, I need to go to the next car. And I think that's the thing that keeps me coming back. And the fact that there's just so much to do. It's a phenomenal game. Probably one of the best racing games I've ever played. Granted, I've only played it for about 4 days at this point, but still. I think that says a lot.
This is Forza, right?
Yep, Forza Horizon 5.
That's interesting, man. And I'll be honest. I don't really give a fuck about cars or any of that. Like, I'm not a car guy.
Same here, man. Like, I know what cars are what, but I've never been like, oh, this car drives like this, or I like this design of this. But this game, I think it's changing me. It's changing me, man. I'm seeing cars on the road, and I'm like, hey, I like it, or I dislike it, or I actually care about it.
Yeah. On this article on Kotaku, it says, Forza Horizon 5 is finally stealing the show for Microsoft. Do you agree with that headline? Do you feel like Forza Horizon 5 isn't just a racing game, but more of a inline, game to be implemented? Like, where it's not just, hey, this is another racing game,
No,
where it's actually part of the ecosystem of, hey, let's go buy the new NBA 2K, let's go buy the new Madden, let's go buy the new. Do you feel like for this new Forza Horizon is going to be implemented in that way where it's like, hey, we gotta go get the new Forza?
I think it's going to be that, but it's not going to be like 2K, where it's just going to come out every year to small incremental changes. This game is
that's a good question, right?
Forza Horizon 4, yeah. This game is just different, and you can tell almost immediately. Granted, you can see, of course, with the location, but just with the way that this game plays and the way things look, it's just better. And it's hard to explain because it's a racing game. Like, you can explain the differences between like GTA 4 and GTA 5. They're like night and day, but in this case, when you have two games that function similarly, you pull the right trigger to go faster and you press the left trigger to slow down. It's just the feeling that you get when you're playing this game is just like they're these small senses of accomplishments because there's so many races. There's so much to do. There's so many cars to get and have judgment on. Like, for example, there's the way that they're doing this game now is that they have these seasons, and the location changes with each season, like in real life. So you have, you have your autumn, your winter, your spring, and your summer. And the way that they're handled is that I think they're going to be rotating throughout each week. And you get a list of challenges, and you get 2 vehicles that you can unlock. And most of the time, they're extremely rare vehicles. They're vehicles that you can't just buy right out. You have to do these challenges to unlock these vehicles. And for, I think, this first season that they're having, you get the chance to unlock the Dmc Delorean, the 1982 Dmc Delorean. And you can actually see the differences between the 82 and the 81, which the 81 isn't in the game. The 81 was the one that everyone hadn't talked about back then. And in the game, it actually drives terrible like the DeLorean does. And I think that's what's so fun about this game is that you see these cars, on social media or on TV, and you get the option to basically test drive them.
Yeah.
Like, right now, I can't afford a Lamborghini Centenario, but on the game, I see what it's like to have one.
You're saying you're saying that you're saying that this release of this game is really that like are you saying that it really translate how the car might actually feel, or you feel like it does it at its best, right? It's not, of course you're not gonna get the actual sensation of it, but you can feel the tug on the wheels and the push of the car and all that. You saying that this game translates that's very well. Do you feel like this is the best racing game out?
Yes, 100%
of all time.
Of all time.
Wow.
I stand on the hill as me being someone that's played countless Need for Speed games. I love the Midnight Club games. Forza Horizon 5 is the greatest racing game I probably ever played.
Wow,
you have all of these vehicles, all this variety, all these different types of races. You have road races, street races. Man, there's a race on here. Well, there's several races, but they have things listed off by different festivals. And when you get to the end of the festival, there's usually a big race. And the first big race that you have is about 15 minutes. I kid you not. It's just 15 minutes of you just racing. And then the next one is 18 minutes. Then they have another race where it's basically a dirt race. So things are going to slow down exponentially. And I think I finished it in about 26 minutes. So a lot of fun to be had. There's just so much variety, so many different races. Not to mention that they bring back all the speed traps and speed zones and drift zones and everything to keep you occupied. There's just so much to do. And I think it's been ever since Far Cry 6, it's just good to feel overwhelmed with stuff to do that is actually fun.
And this goes into and I'm going to close out this Forza conversation because you talked about it beautifully. I think that, especially with racing games, you find, at least for me, a lot of my introduction to, excuse me, I'm a couple beers in. If you haven't noticed, if you're watching the VOD, the video on YouTube, you can see that I've been downing some Budweisers because we're down deep south in the damn Texas, boy. Because we're Texas motherfuckers. Not Domogary.
South Carolina.
Still
the South.
In South Carolina, but whatever. I digress. I think that I personally, the last time and I enjoyed the game was a very archaic version of a racing game, but to say from somebody saying that, hey, this game is not only realistic but also kind of like cool how it kind of translates the versions of cars into where I can kind of experience some sort of piece of that. It's very interesting, and to say that this is game being held in high regards, and you are not the only one who has said this recently. I've heard a couple of people say this about this game, which is Forza 5, right?
Yes, Forza Horizon 5.
That's so good, and of course, with any developers or any of these games. Like, I'm so happy to see that. Like, that's so
Yeah.
badass that these people are able to make a game that people enjoy. And as a matter of fact, games that people enjoy, I think another game that people are gonna really, really have fun with, and it's gonna be Elden Ring.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you think that Elden Ring is gonna bring to the table? I hope that you've watched some of the gameplay that
Hmm.
some people have been having recently. I think personally, for me, if I could go first, if you don't mind, I think that it looks cool. It looks interesting. It looks interesting. It looks interesting, but don't mind me. I have biases against, open world games. I'm more of a linear type of gamer. I think Breath of the Wild, whereas some people think that it was one of the greatest Zelda games to come out,
Which it is.
I kind of beg to differ. I think OOT is such a great game, and it withstands the what's the phrase called, the time, what is it called, time, the I wish I knew the phrase I'm talking about. It withstands the whatever, it withstands time, right? I think OOT is such a great game. As a matter of fact, I started to really fall in love with Majora's Mask later down the road.
Hmm.
But a lot of people think that BOTW is such an amazing game, and this goes into the Elden Ring, scenario, where this is such an open world game, and really with Dark Souls fans and people who have been playing these games are such fanatics to these games that are like Skyrim and such diverse games, and these weird like mix of RPG and linear type of games. Sorry, not linear, but open world type of games. It's very interesting. I like that. I respect those people. I I will have a biased opinion about that, and I will admit that firsthand, because I'm not really such in depth into the Dark Souls community and Dark Souls environment. Not because I haven't tried it, but I really enjoyed Bloodborne. If that gives you any idea, if maybe that gives any perspective of the people who play Dark Souls and the whole games and stuff, I don't know, right? Maybe somebody who plays Bloodborne enjoys that, and somebody who plays Dark Souls, it tells the difference between gamer to gamer, right? Hopefully that is able to explain something. I enjoy Bloodborne casually, right? I'm not in depth into the whole lore of the game, but looking at Elden Ring, I really see a lot of these things, especially watching Maximilian Dude's channel and him having this like being able to play this demo or whatever he had, the pre-game, the having this game early on. He seemed to have a lot of opinions of it being kind of Breath of the Wild and being kind of the Skyrim thing where it's open world and you really have wherever you can go. How do you feel about how do you feel about that? How do you feel about Dark Souls and just the entirety of it? Of course, this is a humongous question to ask, but we have time.
So with Dark Souls and Demon Souls alike,
Jesus Christ.
I've never really been into those games. I would
Yeah.
see the games at GameStop and say, "Yeah, no, I'm gonna go get Naughty Bear or something else." You know what I mean? It's never been appealing to me, but that's not to say that I don't like them. It's just that they've never been my cup of tea. The first Souls-like game, I guess you could say, that I played was or actually owned, was Sekiro. Was it Shadows Die Twice, which is made by From Software, and
That was good.
yeah, it's a really good game. When I first got it, someone said, "Okay, be prepared to die a lot," and I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." I love the game. I absolutely loved it. But with Elden Ring, with them saying, it's going to be a co-op open world experience, I immediately was a little bit interested. Just the fact that,
Wow. Okay.
Dark Souls being this kind of hardcore game, it's a gamer's game, I should say.
Oh, most
If
definitely.
if you like to take L's, it's a game for you. So being able to do that with a friend kind of adds to the experience, I think. You know what I mean? Like, for example, we could be playing and then, be able to talk to each other and say, hey, I'm about to do this and you do that. Or we come up with a plan to do this. And then I think that's just fun. And I've always been a fan of open world games. I've always been a fan of open world games. So adding the friend element into it, just like I said, just elevates everything.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, and it's also interesting that I'm gonna go take a restroom break because I gotta pee, and we'll be right back.
Right back.
And all you podcasters who have been watching, don't judge me, dude. This isn't the Joe Rogan experience. This is the Lex lack of experience, dude. I don't give a fuck, man. I don't give a fuck because this is the Prolific Podcast number 4, and we do prolific things, and we can do prolific mistakes. Okay, I gotta go pee, man. I'm peeing this motherfucking Budweiser out the motherfucking system. And guess what? I'm with my boy Domogary, dude. And also, Domogary has his own podcast called The Dom Trap. You can find him on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you find your favorite podcast, dude. And this is amazing. The Dom Trappy. Come on, man. The Dom Trap, dude. And guess what? We're gonna cheers to that. We're gonna have fun, dude. This is Lex Lack of Experience podcast. Come and join us, and we're having fun. We're talking about Elden Ring. Looks like such a fun game, but it seems like both of us are very disconnected from the Dark Souls franchise. So we will try this game, hopefully. Right?
Yeah, it's coming soon.
So if we're able to join this game and we're not really into the franchise itself, then it must be a good game.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they are going to be somewhat okay with hand holding for new players, which they should be. I'm pretty sure they will.
A lot of these new games seem to have. See, a lot of these new games. I hope that I don't know. A lot of things seem to be very like listening to the crowd now. How do you feel about that? Do you think that a lot of these developers and a lot of like this transcends just gaming? I'm talking about like music and stuff. They seem to be very listening to like the crowd. Has there been a shift of that, you think?
Yeah, I think that they know that we know how to say what we want to say with our wallets. I think they know that if they put out a terrible project, that we will judge it harshly, and in turn, they will make the profit that they need off of it.
Yeah.
For example, the Marvel's Avengers game that came out last year.
Yes.
I am one of few people that love the game.
Yeah.
So when the game came out, people were saying, okay, well, this really wasn't what I was expecting. And them saying, oh, well, let's try to make this game better. Let's, get these bugs straightened out. Let's fix things graphically. Let's improve performance. And that's basically what they've done. It's almost a different game from what it was when it first came out, because they actually sat down and said, hey, people aren't liking our game. We want them to enjoy the game. We want them to keep giving us more of their time. Let's change what we need to change. And here we are now, over a year later. And like I said, they made so many changes because of what the community, including myself, were telling them that they needed to fix and to improve on.
Yeah.
I mean, look at movies, man. Like, The Last Duel is a movie that you probably never even heard of.
Dude, I keep hearing about it.
See? And nobody went to see it. Nobody.
That's the one with don't tell me Tom Cruise? No. It's a new one with, I know it's like a new one. I've heard of it.
Matt
Damon
and Ben
Affleck.
Yes. So it's a big Hollywood movie. It was a $100 million movie, but Disney and they did a terrible job promoting that movie. A terrible job. So no one saw it. And I think it only grossed about $25 million. So they weren't anywhere close to making their profit back. And it's like with a movie like that, a movie that's really a really well made movie that I think a lot of people would like. Granted, it may not be for everyone. Just the fact that not enough people seeing it just kind of shows like, hey guys, either the movie was bad, which it wasn't, but they just did a terrible job showing what the movie was and just letting people know in general.
Yeah. I think that this is one, but to say this, the movie itself, like I didn't really hear much about it, but I did hear word to mouth.
Yeah.
Does that give anything to the quality of the movie?
Well, this is one of those movies that you want to go into blind.
Yeah.
You want to go into this movie not knowing anything about it, and I think that's where you'll have the best experience. That was the case for me anyway. I went into it just because I saw it was in theaters, checked it out, and walked out. You know, I was impressed. I didn't go in with any expectations, but I walked out feeling good about it.
I think some people felt like that during the whole John Wick, the first John Wick.
Yeah, I had very little expectations for the first John Wick before it came out. You know, I liked Keanu Reeves, but I was like, okay, we have another movie with Keanu Reeves with guns, and he's the leading man. I didn't really see much reason to see it, but after I saw it, I was a believer. That's when
Yeah,
I was
man.
like, yep, this dude has it. They have something special here. And the fact that they've capitalized on it and are continuing to capitalize on that just kind of shows that they knew what they had.
Yeah, and just like how we're capitalizing on this situation right now, we know what we have. We have two amazing creators, Dom from the Dom
Yes.
Trap and Lex from Lex_44 Gaming. You know, and we are enjoying the prolific podcast number 4, and we're coming to the end here.
Yep.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. For everybody who stays tuned to the very end, you people are very, very, very special. I thank you so much. Just like our very, very, very special guest, one of my really closest friends, Domogary. We had a lot of juicy discussions.
And to be honest, man, I still got several things I still want to talk about, but we'll save it.
We'll save it. We'll save it.
We'll save it.
We'll save it because this has been the Prolific Podcast, episode number 4. And we will see you guys on the next one. See ya.
Peace.